I do a little bit of research, or I will gauge that, okay, they actually liked that mix of that, or they didn't like that. They might come back and say, actually, no, I didn't really like how that turned out, which is why I want to come to you with this. I don't know if you can hear, but it's quite boomy and there's a lot of 300 hertz, stuff like that. So it's a mixed bag. Yeah, so I try to identify those references with the artist first, and then I drop something into my project. I don't have a mix assistant, so I'm mix assisting myself. So I go in
here.
And I feel you. So I'm strip silencing everything. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if this is a sin or not. I feel like I might get picked apart for this, but I go in and make sure that the vocal is cleaned up first, actually. And then, I kind of see a lot, sometimes with independent artists especially, I'm getting vocals, or in the last 2 years, rather, with the pandemic and everything, I'm receiving vocals that have been recorded by the artists at home.
Right. The Focusrite sound.
The Focusrite sound. The road into Focusrite
yes.
sound.
Oh my God. The NT1.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I'm never getting sponsorship from those companies.
Oh no.
No, just kidding. I mean, wasn't planning on it, but.
Oh yeah, we'll see after this. Yeah,
I mean, Focusrite is a great company, and I respect what they're doing.
They're brilliant.
So,
yeah,
but it's definitely a thing.
It's a thing.
Yes.
So with especially coming out of lockdown, those are the kinds of mixed clients that I was getting mainly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of learned the art of, I guess, de-homifying the recordings on the vocals, if that makes any sense.
De-bedroomifying.
De-bedroomifying.
Yes.
Wow. Just to help the vocals sit in a little bit more. RX was something that I invested in the pandemic to help that process also. Just kind of taking the room out of vocals.
Pays for itself faster than you imagine, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Crazy.
Definitely. I agree. And, the fixing plosives and things, just kind of doing, I guess, the background work doing the post-production work that I usually do when I'm cleaning up tracks after I finish vocal producing them. Because if I haven't recorded something, there might be things that I want to change or do differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I just go in with that first. And I obviously have a listen through to the whole track. And I think, okay, I make my markers, my project, making sure I know where choruses are and things, the loudest parts of projects, or of tracks rather. And then, I don't know if people kind of go in on this first, but I kind of start with drums and bass. Kind of I get a rough sound. I like to do things intuitively, go with my gut as much as possible for the first 45 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes to 45 minutes rather. Just working intuitively and kind of really just going with my gut, as I've said, just, listening. Okay, that's a bit honky, right? Take that out. All right. Okay. Moving on here. Just trying to not overthink, because usually that's kind of how I come up with my bass.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm doing air quotes, by the way.
Yeah. For the people who are only listening, which is everyone.
Coming up with my kind of bass mix, or for a rough first mix, and that kind of helps me see where things are going to sit. And things might change later, but usually only 30% of the time am I making big changes to that initial gut instinct of a first mix, if that makes sense. In Alice's case, for example, I wanted to run her vocal through a tube tech, basically. And I took that into the studio with me, just did a print of the vocals through some warm stuff, just to kind of introduce that body. And I don't do that with everything, but where I hear that it could benefit from something like that, I do go ahead and do that. I'm saving different mix versions as I go along, and kind of fine tuning here and there. And then once it's kind of at a better place than my first mix, once I've done automation, basically, I kind of do another bounce, and I'm also listening obviously throughout on different speakers, different headphones, making sure that the low end and everything is kind of translating through the different ways of listening. Yeah, usually takes me a few days to kind of get first mix to an artist, and then getting feedback. And I don't like to speak too much about what I've done when I send something off first to them. I just kind of like to let them listen. I might say something that relates back to the reference. Like, I don't know if you can hear in the chorus, I actually found that we were able to kind of get the kick and sub relationship really similar to your reference. Might have been The Weeknd, for example. So let me know what you think about that, just so they can hear it and realize like, oh yeah, she's right.
She's paying attention.
A little bit. Yeah, actually.
It sounds like a lot
Another
of it.
Time. Yeah, maybe.
Well, it's interesting. It takes you a few days to do the first round. Is that for objectivity, to kind of like make sure that you like all the referencing, getting like?
I think I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if me saying a few days is quick or slow, because again, I'm kind of starting out figuring out I'm learning my mix process as I'm going, and I'm changing. I
think that sounds legit. Like whatever works for you, right? Like exactly. I like to send the mix when I think it's like at the vibe level, like 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to send a mix 2 hours in or something, but to see if I don't have to, go back and like change. Because if I don't want to go too deep into a mix if it's not the right vibe.
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying like, I kind of go off of my gut instinct first.
Yeah.
And, there have been a couple of times where my gut instinct has been wrong, and that's okay. And, maybe it turned out that I was listening to the wrong things from the reference that I was given than what the artist was thinking. And that's okay as well. And it, as you said previously, it's a matter of taste, and you like what you listen to. And I think it's important also to kind of find a mix engineer who listens to and maybe also mixes stuff that's close to your genre.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally true. Also, when you're talking about like the gut section of the 30 minutes to 45 minutes, I interviewed a guy, for another guy from Israel named Noam Levenberg, and he told me he just tries to mix as fast as humanly possible. And he'll I think he does full mixes in like 45 minutes. He's just like, however fast I can make it happen, because he trusts his gut so much that it's just like, everything beyond that is almost like superfluous. You have to just mix as fast as humanly possible. And I mean, not for me, not for the faint of heart, but
well, I don't know if I can mix as fast as humanly possible. I think I personally don't know if I have the ear for that yet. Maybe one day. You
just got to put in enough reps. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's the gut thing. I think is a super important point for. You really have to trust your. I mean, like that's why you're doing it, right? Like you have to trust yourself.
Exactly.
And when you overthink these things, it usually ends up sounding worse. If you over EQ, you can overdo all these things.
And like objectivity, as you said too, is really important. Like I can't sit here and listen to the same chorus over and over again, tweaking it for 3 hours, because I won't be able to hear what I've done. I won't be able to go back and like hear, I won't be able to go back with a fresh ear again.
Yeah.
So I think taking breaks also when you're mixing is so important. Like you can do something for 20 minutes and then go have a snack, take a break.
Yeah.
Do something else. Like don't even, and then come back and listen to it on a different set of speakers. And then if you're still like, also another thing that I pay attention to is how I move when I'm listening to a track that I'm mixing. If I find that I'm vibing to it, I'm tapping my foot,
right,
and paying attention to how my body's moving.
Visceral reactions.
Exactly. If I'm, with Alice's track, I struggled in the beginning, and then when we kind of made changes towards the last couple of revisions, I found myself sitting in the studio like properly headbanging and moving my body in all these ways.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is a vibe. Great.
Now you know you're close. It's so true. Yeah, it's so important. What did I want to say? Oh, I was going to just say that I also I will send an artist like a track like when I think it's like 80% of the way, which will be like maybe after an hour or two. But I will never sign off on a mix until it's been at least another day, and I can re-listen with fresh ears and just know that, oh yeah, that does kind of work. Or I'll listen on my AirPods and or
exactly. And you might be like, oh, that's kind of muddy. Okay,
yeah,
I'll come back to the drawing board tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah. And then tomorrow, then you have a new idea of where you can start and how you're going to pick up the pieces. Totally. Mm-hmm. In terms of like vocals, I know vocals, you're always paying attention to vocals. You've already, you've talked about the vocal production side of things, and you also talked about even just inside the mixing session, how much you're listening to those things. Do you do anything particular to vocals in your mixing sessions that you think is unique, or anything that you think about as like a tried and true technique, or it could even be like chains that you tend to go to, or effects, anything like that?
Ooh, that's kind of a tough question because again, it really depends and it changes. I don't know. I guess I feel like this might be on quite a basic level, but hopefully it's okay. I like to fill in spaces with delay and reverb and make sure that, there you can put a vocal in so many different rooms, and I don't think people realize that.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely didn't until I kind of was mixing my third or fourth thing, and I got comments from I would sometimes get feedback from the artist like, I don't know, something with a vocal, and then I was focusing too much on, is it too crispy? What do you mean you don't like the sound of the vocal? Is it too warm? Is it too is it harsh? Because to me, I was thinking this is perfect for the genre. You said you liked it. Things like that. I'm really going in and questioning myself. But I really try to focus on the actual room I'm putting the vocals in. Because it can be, it could be a small room. It could be something that's quite sparkly. Maybe if it's a pop track, you want the vocal ambience or the vocal environment, as I like to think of it, to be sparkly, or maybe you want it to be dull. Maybe it needs to be not have a lot of feedback, not a lot of reflection. Maybe it's just quite dark. Not actually talking about the vocal sound again, just the room that it's in. But that is super important because you can't apply the same thing everywhere. And I don't know. Again, I feel like that's quite a basic thing, but it's something I like to pay attention to a lot.
Yeah.
And again, that's where I go in and I listen to the references and I think, okay, how do I feel? I really lean into the emotion of it. Let's just use The Weeknd again as an example. I think in that scenario, I might make the room a little darker that the vocal is in.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't make it bright and sparkly like I would if maybe I was mixing something that's a bit poppier and happier.
Yeah. Do you blend different rooms together also, or it's usually
yeah sometimes I do. Sometimes I usually have a couple of reverbs going at once in different parts of the song as well. It doesn't even have to be throughout the song. It could be the verses are dark and the choruses become bright,
that's cool.
Stuff like that. Yeah, it really depends. But yeah, it's more I try to think about putting the track in a space rather than mixing it so it can fit in with other stuff. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I really, that's really cool. I mean, I do think about putting a vocal in a space when I'm adding reverb or delay or whatever, but it's almost like an afterthought to how well is it compressed and is it the right frequency spectrum?
Yeah, I understand.
Kind of like what you were saying, but maybe it's a cool way to approach mixing a vocal is to imagine where the vocal is sitting. And I think about I would like this vocal to have a warm reverb or a longish haul or a short plate or something. I think about it like that, but I've never imagined it let's place this person somewhere, and that could be a cool.
Could be in a cave. Is this person singing it to a concert hall in front of 1 million people, or is it a track that's them in their bedroom? It really matters the emotional space that you put. Yeah. You put a vocal in. Yeah. And it will do the performance justice also in the end. So
yeah, I love that. What are some of your favorite reverb and delay plugins? Just out of curiosity.
Oh my God. Valhalla is a very big go-to for me. I've got some of the UAD stuff, the EMT plates, the lexicon, kind of the standard stuff. I'm usually it's usually a mix of the stuff, but Valhalla is almost always there. Valhalla, the vintage verb, or Valhalla room, kind of fluctuates between the two. I'm also automating my reverb a lot, so it might not become as obvious in parts as it might in others. And I guess delay wise, I actually use my favorite. I guess my favorite delay is actually this Replica XT. I think is it Replica XT from Native Instruments, and I really love that. I don't know. It sounds, I guess, wider to me than some of the other ones that I've used. But
cool.
The Native Instruments plugins are actually sick.
Right, people forget that they have an SSL compressor and stuff.
Yeah,
let's try it out again.
They should. There's some really, and they're well priced. I think anyway. It's sometimes I really have to remind myself, I don't know if I want to pay £400 for a plugin. Right. So I find that the Native Instruments stuff is really great. They have amazing saturation plugins.
All right. So don't sleep on the Native Instruments, people.
No, don't do it.
Wait, so I know that you were involved in on some level with the latest Adele record. Are you comfortable